Hey everyone, if you are considering buying or selling a home in Edmonton and the surrounding areas this year in 2022, especially during the spring market, then you're gonna wanna watch this video because I'm gonna be showing you some cool stuff that can help prepare you for the spring market in Edmonton, whether you're a buyer or a seller, and how it's a much different picture depending on which side of the table that you're on. So I'm gonna hop over to my whiteboard here and just kind of review some things with you. I'm not going to be going into a full market update in this video. If you want to see how things are moving overall in the market, I definitely suggest checking out one of my regular monthly market update videos. I'll put a link to that here so you can check it out. But in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly kind of what's going on, what I'm seeing in the market right now. So I'm recording this on Monday, February the 7th, and I'm specifically going to be looking at what's been happening here at the beginning of the month and how the market's heating up. First of all, it's a much different experience if you're a buyer or a seller and if you're looking at condos or if you're looking at single family homes. What I wanted to focus on today is what's called the sales to new listing ratio. And so this is a ratio that you can look at to help determine essentially, is it more of a buyer's market or is it more of a seller's market, or is potentially the market overheating? And I'll basically be showing you stats that are right up to today's date. All right, so we're gonna look at single family first. So sales to new listings. Okay, so this is a ratio that we're looking at, which is basically what you do is you take the number of sales and you're dividing that into the number of active listings. Okay, so for single family detached homes right now, currently we've got 1,060 active single family detached homes on the market as of today in Edmonton. Now, when it comes to calculating this ratio, we're not looking at the number of active listings, so ignore that number for now. But so far, we've had 142 sales this month. And the number of new listings, keyword here being new, right? We've got 219 new listings. So if we calculate that 142 divided by 219, we get 65%, or I think it rounds up to 65%. Now, just to give you an idea, sort of like a benchmark idea, if you have a sales to new listing ratio above 55%, it is considered a seller's market. And if you have a sales to new listings ratio above 70%, that could be considered an overheating market. So sitting at 65% for detached homes, we're clearly in a seller's market. All right, so now let's look at condos. Okay, so with condos, just for reference, there's 1,797 actives, and for new listings so far this month, we've got 203, and for sales, we've got 63. So the ratio is 31%. So I'd say that for the condo market, you could see that you're basically looking at about a double increase of the ratio between the condo market and the single family home market. So at a ratio of 31%, you're sort of right in between a buyer's market and a balanced market. So things are still improving in the condo market, at least if you're a seller, but it's not nearly the same intensity as what's going on in the single family home market. And also, if you look at this number of active listings in condos versus, let's see, single family, we had 1,060. So we've got significantly more condos on the market compared to single family homes, but we're also seeing quite a few more sales in single family homes. So they're selling at a faster rate and there's less of them. What does this mean? It means if you're buying a single family home, you're in a much more competitive market, and it's definitely in a seller's market right now. So you've got to be vigilant. Let's scratch this all here again. So what should you expect if you're a buyer? Well, if you're a buyer, you need to be fast. And that means that you want to get out there and see properties quickly before they're gone. Right now we're seeing a lot of properties, if they're nice and they don't need a lot of work, they're selling basically in the first few days. That means they put it on the market and they've gotten an offer sometimes the same day, the next day, or max within a few days, and it's usually multiple offers. So if you're slow, if you're taking a few days to go out and look at properties that have hit the market, there's a good chance you're just not even gonna have a shot at them because they'll already have gone pending. They would have already accepted an offer after often receiving multiple offers, and you just missed it altogether. It's natural to resent that and wanting to be able to take your time, especially with a big purchase. But the reality is the nice properties in a lot of Edmonton right now are going pretty quick when they get listed. As long as they're priced properly, and it seems fair, people are going to go after it and they're going to like the property and they're going to write offers. To combat that, I would definitely recommend getting set up at least on daily updates for new properties that hit the market, if not immediate updates. That's something you can reach out to me directly and I can set up for you. Just give me a call or shoot me a text at 780-819-5508. Or you can go to booktrevornow.com and schedule a time to chat with me in my calendar, and I can review your plans for buying a home in 2022 and help you make strategic moves that will set you up for success. One of those things is that I can set you up on instant updates. So as soon as something hits the market, you'll get a notification in your email. So you'll know right away. Then you could potentially even go out to see it with me that day, and if not that day, the next day, and then you know you're not going to miss out on some of the good properties that hit the market. So that's the first thing to expect if you're a buyer, is that you need to be fast. Now the next thing you want to look at is you might need to make compromises. What do I mean by compromises? So you might need to make more compromises on either location, your budget, or the condition of the property, and potentially all three. With so little inventory right now and the number of sales almost outpacing the number of new listings, unless we get a lot more properties on the market, there's just not going to be nearly as much for you to choose from. Or you might have trouble finding that perfect house that has everything you want. It's in the exact neighborhood you want. It's in the exact price that you want. And it doesn't need any work. You love the paint colors. You don't want to do anything with the kitchen. There's absolutely no renos that you have to do whatsoever. Although that would be great if you could find that, you're probably going to pay a premium for that because most buyers don't really want to do any work. They want something that is just feels perfect the way it is right now, and they can move in right away. So if that's what you want, if you're like most buyers, you're going to be competing with more people, and there's a decent chance you're going to pay a little bit more for the property. But if you're willing to look at making some compromises, you might find some opportunities that have either been missed by other people, or you can just find something faster. Depending on your timeline, if you need to find something pretty quickly, or if you just want to, if you don't want to be in the market for months and months trying to find something, that's going to come into play, and you might actually want to look at making some compromises on some of your wants list on, is it only this neighborhood that you're looking in, or are you willing to look in other nearby areas? Or, okay, I would have preferred if I didn't need to paint the property, but you know what? It's not that hard to either paint the property yourself or hire someone to do it. It's pretty straightforward. If you can look past that and make that compromise, you'll probably have more success. Now for buyers, I see two opportunities right now. One of them is good deals that hit the market and you're able to act fast. The reality is not everybody is going to act fast. So one of the opportunities is when you act fast and you're watching the market like a hawk, that if something good comes up, it's got a good price on it, or it's good value, if you act quickly, there's always the opportunity that you could get a better deal or get a better property. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, and it could get bid up over its listing price. That is something that's commonly happening right now. But that's one of the main opportunities I see. So it goes back to that acting fast. And then the second opportunity I see is overlooked properties. Okay, so what do I mean by overlooked properties? Well, it goes back to a little bit of the idea around compromises. Is most buyers are looking for something that's turnkey, they don't need to do anything, they can just move in. And that's for a whole bunch of different reasons. People don't like the idea of doing renovations. They look at it as being expensive or an inconvenience, or they're just overwhelmed by it. And a lot of times they can't actually see the potential of a property unless it already looks the way that they want it. Paint has a massive impact on how a property feels, how bright it is. So if a property's hit the market and it's got bad paint colors, or it's in desperate need of being painted because the walls are all beat up, it tends to be perceived as needing lots of work. When the reality is you can almost completely transform a lot of properties just by repairing and painting the walls and baseboards. It can completely change it, especially if somebody has like really dark colors. That can make the property feel dark. Just switching to lighter neutral colors can make a massive difference. And it's something that's pretty easy to do. So since most buyers are looking for stuff that's turnkey, they don't want to have to do any of that stuff, there could be a perfectly good property that comes up on the market, but the majority of buyers are overlooking it just because it needs to be painted and it's got bad paint colors, or maybe there's some other small cosmetic renovations that are in the way, like a carpet that needs to be replaced. Maybe the carpets are stained or worn out upstairs or in the bedrooms. That's something that's also pretty easy to do. Or maybe there's something about the kitchen that people don't like. They don't like the cabinets or the finishes or the countertops. Things like that, which could cause a lot of buyers to overlook it because it doesn't fit their wants, you could easily change and make it fit those for you. So that's basically what the second opportunity that I see is, if you're willing to see past the property as it is right now and get creative and look for those opportunities on, like, okay, well, what would this property look like if we switched it to more neutral colors and gave it a fresh paint job? There's nothing wrong with the property just because it's got beat up walls. That's nothing structural. That's just things that need to be done to properties. And a lot of sellers aren't willing to do that stuff either. So their laziness could be your gain. So those are the two main opportunities I see for buyers right now. Now, if you're selling, it's a bit of a different story. Of course, it's going to depend what you're selling. If you're selling a condo, you definitely be very realistic still on your price. Don't overprice it. Make it look good. Declutter it. Make sure you get professional photos. I do video tours on all my property listings, whether it's a condo or a house. So I do a full length video tour where I walk through the property as if I'm showing someone in person. And that way the buyers can really get a really good feel for what the house feels like. So you should definitely be doing all of that stuff if you're selling a condo. It's still important to do that stuff when you're selling a house because you want to try to get as much activity as quickly as possible. But if you're selling a single family home, right now, for the most part, the market is in your favor. So what you could expect if your house is priced right and it's in a competitive price range, like, you know, if it's under 500,000 in many parts of the city, as long as you haven't overpriced it and it doesn't need a ton of work, you can expect to get quite a bit of activity right now on your listing as soon as you put it up. So one thing you might want to expect is to be overwhelmed. What do I mean by that? You might get so many showings the first day, 2 or 3, that you basically have to be out of your house all day. So you might want to prepare for that. Obviously, it's not guaranteed. It's not like that all over Edmonton. It really depends on what's going on in the local community and area that you're in. But it's not uncommon if you price it right, where you're just gonna have a bunch of showings like the same day within hours of posting it, where people are gonna start booking showings and they're gonna wanna get in that day and the next day. And you might need to spend more time out of your house than you expected. So expect to potentially be overwhelmed and potentially get multiple offers within the first few days. That's obviously the best case scenario for a seller. That happens and you can pretty much get your property sold or pending under contract very quickly. But now, depending on what your plans are, if you're buying another property, now you're switching over to the other end of the spectrum, and depending on what price point you're buying in, you could be dealing with the buyer side, the buyer side problems if you're on the other side of the table there. So For sellers, even though the market is heating up right now and it's a seller's market, it's still important to price your property properly. Some people get the false idea that, oh, because it's a seller's market, I can just price my property at whatever I want and somebody will pay it because, you know, there's not much inventory. Buyers aren't stupid. They're still looking for good value, and that is what drives that activity. So they're looking for nice houses that feel like they're good value. And if they check both of those boxes, sometimes they're willing to pay over list price if they know there's other people writing offers. But if you overvalue your property, even 10 to 20,000, or especially if you go higher than that, but even just overvaluing it by 10 to 20,000, depending on the price point, will start to turn off buyers and they just won't book showings. They'll look at it, it just seems like it's not good value compared to everything else they've been looking at online. So they don't even bother booking a showing because it just seems, oh, that property's overpriced. And you know what happens when you do that? You get way less showings, and now you've essentially eliminated the possibility of getting multiple offers and selling your house quickly and potentially over list. So it is still very important to price your property properly. If you price it right where it's supposed to be in the market, that's how you're gonna get the most activity right up front and get a whole bunch of hungry buyers coming through the doors and wanting to buy your property. So expect to still have to be realistic. Price it right, and if you're lucky, you'll get list price or sometimes a little over list price depending on how many people come in and write offers. But don't get crazy and think that you can just put whatever you want on the price. That's just gonna totally hurt your chances of having a quick, smooth sale with less stress. If you overprice it, you could end up sitting on the market for weeks and weeks and months, sometimes years. There's still some stubborn sellers, I'd call them, that have had their property on the market for literally over a year and they're not moving. They're a nice property otherwise, but because they're just not priced right, everybody's overlooking them. Or I don't even know if I'd call it overlooking, they're just passing over them because they're not priced right. They don't feel like good value, so you're not gonna get those good offers from the buyers. That about wraps up what I had in mind to cover in this video and sort of what to expect in the real estate market in Edmonton in 2022. Obviously, this can change depending on what happens with the inventory, but right now we're set up to have a pretty rocket and rolling market here for the spring. Hopefully we have a lot more sellers putting their stuff on the market right now. If you're considering selling, definitely a great time to get on the market. A lot of sellers are kind of slow to get their properties on the market and they actually miss that spring market. April is a fantastic time to get your property on the market because it's after May. May is often the peak of the market. It could be April, May, or June, the peak of the market activity in terms of number of sales. And a lot of sellers can be a little slow and they don't actually get their property ready to sell until the summer months. And by the time the summer months roll around, you've already missed that big surge of buyers. Not that you can't still do well at that time, but if you really want to take advantage of that surge of buyers and potentially set yourself up to get a quick sale at a good price, without much hassle, I would definitely consider listing your property right now. The situation can totally change if a bunch of other people list their properties and we end up with a lot more inventory. That's all it really takes to rebalance the scales. So it's a seller's market right now if you're selling a detached home, so get on it. Let me know if there's any questions at all. Of course, all of this is sort of like just general guidance on what's going on in the market right now. So if you want some more specific guidance that is specific to your situation, your budget, the types of homes that you're interested in, or the type of home that you have to sell, then definitely reach out to me. You can go to booktrevornow.com and you can just schedule a time on my calendar and I'll review your plans for this year and I'll help point out at least 2 to 3 strategic opportunities for you that can help you get a better deal and keep more money in your pocket. So thanks so much for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to get more videos like this, and I will see you on the next video.